Namaskar friends, this is NJ, your host on this channel. So friends, in this video we will have our discussion on the Ashtamsha chart or the D-8 chart. So friends, the only thing which comes to our mind when we talk about the 8th house, so that is fear, obstacles, matters of life and death. Like this could be karmic problems, chronic issue. And here I am talking about that you have to dive deeper into it. You will be saying this thing, Nepon, why do you want to scratch the wounds? What will you get out of it? But no friends, it becomes sometimes very important. Imagine all those people who are dealing with any of the childhood trauma, people who are suffering with depression, suicidal thoughts. So what could be the exact nature of the problem? So knowing that, getting an elaborative information, impression of that becomes very important, because then only any remedy, any precaution can be advised to someone. So friends, this is what we will try to do in this video. Whatever you know so far about the 8th house, this is going to be a very microscopic, very elaborative analysis of this chart. Those people who are new to this, so friends, if you will key in to any good astrology software like Jagannath Hura, so over there you can actually get the access of this chart, this calculation. And for other people as well, like friends, even in the Play Store there is an app. For example, this could be Jyotish app. So the icon you are seeing in the screen, if you will key in your details, and you have to go to the other section where you will have that scroll down option of all the divisional chart. Over there they by default provide this D8 chart as well, which will, like, if you key in your details, you will get access to this chart. So it will help you to understand your 8th house, the overall flavors and features of this chart. Because friends, in rest of the video we will be trying to look at all the verticals of this chart. Because see, it is very easy to say, like when we are approaching D9 chart, for example, we know that in the D9 chart, 4th house will talk about the comfort you get from the marriage, from the relationship, from your spouse. 11th house, the kind of wishes of yours which will get fulfilled. But here we are talking about a chart which in itself represents our darkest, our deepest fears. So what would be the 4th house in the same chart will mean? What does placement of Jupiter in the D8 chart mean? So that is what I will try to explain you, like the proper comprehensive picture of this chart. So okay friends, now after this we will switch to the narration part of diving deeper into this mysterious journey of getting into the dark tunnels of the 8th house via studying Ashtamsha chart or D8 chart. D8 or the Ashtamsha chart will help you understand why suffering happens, how the 8th house energy can transform your life, and through spirituality when the soul will harden into power. So friends, it's not an exaggeration to say this thing that the D8 chart is the chart of crisis, survival and inner power. If D1 shows what happens, D8 shows how much pressure the soul can endure. Now the classical definition or the calculation part is very simple. Each zodiac sign of 30 degree needs to be divided into 8 parts of 3 degree 45 minutes each, and these divisions form the Ashtamsha. So as per the Prashara and the Nadi tradition, which uses D8 chart to judge longevity stress, accident, surgeries, sudden losses, deep transformations, survival instincts, or this could be the psychological endurance as well. What is important for you to know that D8 does not show events directly. It shows your capacity to withstand events. And what D8 is not, like the common misunderstanding which people have is, it is not just the accident chart, it is not only for the death prediction, it is not usable without D1 confirmation, and it is not meant for any fear-based readings. D8 is a power chart, not a punishment chart. So friends, the core philosophy of the D8 is that in the Vedic thought, suffering is not random. It is like pressure which refines the consciousness. I always say, like, even if you will take up the case of the Ramayana or Mahabharata, even in the Ramayana, why the Lord Ram is seen as so glorious? Not only because he was the incarnation, not only because he was the son of the Dashrath, but also because he killed the demon Ravan. So that means even for the greatness, sometimes the pressure, obstacle is important. And this is what we are trying to understand, that pressure and fear, what it will transform you into. So friends, the Bhagavad Gita chapter number 2, 14 number shloka says, pain and pleasure come and go, endure them. D8 shows how the soul is forged under heat. So now comes the question, when to use D8. So use D8 only when D1 indicates repeated crisis, sudden reversals, chronic health struggles, surgery patterns, near death experience, or this could be intense fear, trauma, or loss. So like the way we say that if the D1 chart is smooth, like you haven't gotten into the dasha of the planet which is sitting in the 8th house, or your ascendant lord, your 10th lord is not there in the 8th house. So I mean to say, if D1 is smooth, D8 stays dormant. Now friends, what each house in the D8 chart represents, this is the most important part of this discussion, of this video. So unlike the D1, houses in D8 are read psychologically, not literally. That means the first house of the D8 chart tells about the survival identity, like how the native responds to danger, fight, flight, freeze, or transform. All of that, your survival tendency, we generally see, like compared to the D1 chart. For example, if for someone D1 chart is showing a lot of the tamas energy, like Mars is very strong, Rahu is very strong, Saturn is very strong, and let's say for example this person in the D8 chart, this person has got Scorpio Lagna. So we know that in the face of any crisis, the native will be filled with more vengeance to fight back. So that is how you have to see your survival identity in the face of crisis. We generally get to know from the first house of the D8 chart, the zodiac sign which is placed over there, the planet which is placed over there, the planets which are aspecting this house, the first lord, all of that will be important. Now friends, let's come to the second house, very important. This will talk about the crisis resources. That means your speech under stress, financial survival after loss, family support in the trauma. Like the way example friends, a lot of the times when we come across someone who has gambling issue, debt or loans related karma and the problems, and if you will open up the D8 chart, you will see that it is definitely going to be there that in the face of the crisis, the person lost everything. So, and even in certain cases where you will see that, for example, if Ketu is sitting in the 8th house, and when we come across where the tsunami happened, any natural calamity happened, and the person lost his business, he lost everything in that. So this could be a case that nature, so Ketu has some connection with the 8th house in the D1 chart, and the same Ketu in much more strength is placed in the second house of the D8 chart. So this will talk about that. And in certain cases where we say that no matter how much crisis has happened, something or other thing keeps coming up, like the way a lot of the people like who keep on getting into the bankruptcy, but they roll back. So the crisis resources is the second house of the D8 chart. Friends, now comes the third house. So we know that in the D8 chart, third house is the courage under fire. So this will talk about the willpower during the phase of the crisis, or it will also tell about the recovery capacity and your capacity to fight back. Like no matter how much like crisis has come to your life, but does it weaken you or does it empower you? Like all the life crisis challenges you to become more empowered, be prepared, or it just completely catches you by surprise and then you are like all traumatized? We get to know from this house. So third house of the D8 chart is the house which will tell about your recovery capacity and your willpower during crisis. Now friends, when we open up the fourth house, so in the D8 chart, the fourth house is the house of the emotional collapse or stability. So we say that this is the house which will talk about inner peace during suffering. This will also tell about the trauma imprinting. So yes friends, because fourth house in any chart tells about the stability, your groundedness. So if you will find that in the D8 chart, in the fourth house, you have planets like Jupiter exalted, Moon exalted, Venus like placed in its own sign or exalted. This could be Mercury. So this person will maintain his or her calm even in the face of the major life crisis. But let's say for example, if you have planet like Saturn, or this could be planet like Mars, so these are those people who have like some sort of trauma or like some impressions which will be very difficult to erase. That we get to know from the fourth house of the D8 chart. Now friends, when we open up the fifth house of the D8 chart, it is very important because this is the house of the intelligence in crisis. That means your decision making power under pressure. This will also talk about the past life merit, saving the native, like something was supposed to happen and at the last minute your life was saved. So all of that is happening, all of that is being channeled from the Pur Punya, your account of the good merits coming in from the past life. So, and also friends, because the way we say that, the way you act, like in the face of the crisis, they're like those people who keep on accumulating more bad deeds, more bad karma. So for example, just because you got diagnosed with cancer, just because the divorce happened, so everyone would agree that it is a very sensitive, very unsettling kind of event. But that does not mean that now you will be in a rampage to cause harm to others or play the victim card and completely lose your sense of right and wrong. And there are like those people, any of the trauma or crisis situation comes to them and it purifies them. It makes them a better person. So I mean to say, the way your mind, your intelligence will function in the face of the crisis, the fifth house of the D8 chart will tell about that. Now let's come to the sixth house. Now the problem is building up, mounting up. So friends, in the D8 chart, sixth house is the house of the actual disease and enemies. So this will tell about ability to fight illness, your victory over hidden threats. So obviously friends, even in the D8 chart, we want the malefic planets to be empowered, to be strengthened over there. But let's say for example, if you have benefic planet, that too which are weak, then this is going to be a matter of concern. So if you have Venus debilitated in the sixth house, you have Moon debilitated in the sixth house, then this will tell about that yes, diseases and enemies will overpower you. Now friends, let's move to the seventh house. So seventh house is the house of the other people during crisis. So we say that whether you will be supported or you will be abandoned. Like a lot of the times it happens, like where we say that the crisis happened and your spouse left you, or this could be a case like the positive case where any disability happened and your partner stood by your side, and your partner only, your spouse only made that suffering very endurable. So whether you get support or abandonment in the face of the crisis, we get to know from the state of the seventh house. Like we say that this could be the open enemies, your partners, your doctors, all of that. Like the way we say that people who are causing you harm, your open enemies, and those who are helping you. And these are not people you know. This could be that random act of kindness, gracefulness. Out of nowhere someone came and helped you, and then that person disappeared from your life. All of that is the seventh house in the D8 chart. Again friends, if I were to say, in the D8 chart, the third house, seventh house and the 11th house, these are your real people, real friends, real companion in the face of the crisis. These are not your friends in the good times. These are your friends in the time of the storm. Now friends, when we come to the 8th house of the D8 chart, so yeah, this is the core transformation. So this is actually the house of the death and the rebirth axis. Near death experience we see from over here. Surgery karma we generally see from over here. See friends, obviously we know that disability is kind of a pain. There is no debate on that. They're like those people who are born disabled. They somehow get used to of functioning with one hand, with one eye, without any speech, or with hearing problem. They get accustomed to it because they are born with that. But imagine half of your life you have lived and functioned normal, wholesome, and then suddenly happened and the disability came. So yes, then it becomes very challenging. So 8th house in the D8 chart is a challenging house. There is no denying to that. So that means the death and the rebirth axis, near death experience and the surgery karma we generally see from over here. The only planet I would say which you don't want here, I'll be honest with you. You don't want Mars here, you don't want Ketu here. And especially if Mars happened to be your ascendant lord from the D1 chart, then it's a matter of concern. Okay friends, let's move forward. The most important house, 9th house of the D8 chart. So this will tell about the grace under suffering. So the divine protection comes from over here. Fate softening the disaster we see from over here. I would say friends that even if in your D8 chart, I cannot show my own chart, but in my D8 chart, my first lord is moon. Like I have a Cancer rising in the D8 chart and it is placed in the 9th house. And in the face of all the crisis which happened in my life, suffering which happened, it made me more religious. And somehow it was the poor janam, past life samskaras, or you call it whatever, but somehow I have felt, I have sensed that there was some protection around me, because from the human plane of consciousness, rationality, reasoning, no one can come out unscathed, unharmed. The kind of crisis and problems I have been into and I escaped them, I came out of them, it all happened because of the grace. So yes, this is the most important house of this divisional chart. Now friends, when we open up the 10th house, this is the house of the public survival. So this will tell about the reputation after downfall. This will talk about the career resurrection. See, like the way friends we say, even the suffering, blessing, everything is subjective, right? Like in lot many cases, the person by himself can handle that crisis which happened, but he cannot handle public's perception and the opinion. So 10th house becomes very important because this is not in our control. We cannot control what others think about us. No matter how hard we try, right? So that means in the D8 chart, 10th house is very important, because whatever will happen in your life, how it will shape up your reputation afterwards. So that we see from this. 11th house friends is very important house. This is the house of the recovery and the gains. So who helps after collapse? And this also tells about, in a way, rebuilding your life. Like whether you will be able to emerge, come back after that collapse or crisis, or you will just give up. We get to know from over here. So who will help you after the collapse and rebuilding your life? 12th house friends is very important because this is the house of the surrender and the release. So whenever we are talking about anything to do with the loss, with the isolation, we see from over here. And we say that in a way like, moksha through suffering, we see from over this house. And again, friends, sometimes when we come across that any crisis happened, this could happen in the form of disease, this could happen in a gambling debt, this could be a lawsuit. So people who end up selling and getting rid of most of their stuff, their possession, just to deal with that challenging situation. So that could be the 12th house of the D8 chart. Now friends, let's try to understand the planets in the D8 and how to read them. So for example, Sun. So Sun in the D8 chart will talk about the ego collapse or authority through survival. So that means like an afflicted Sun in the D8 chart might talk about the identity crisis in suffering. So again, Sun in the D8 will tell about the ego collapse or authority through survival. When we talk about the Moon, so Moon in the D8 chart, friends, is very, very important. How you are in that puzzle of the life crisis situation, how your manas respond to that. So Moon will talk about the emotional resilience. Weak Moon in the D8 will talk about the trauma, panic and instability. Talking about the Mars, friends, Mars is very difficult placement over here. I'll be very honest with you. Mars is the most difficult planet which can cause actual injury, actual harm, accident, surgery. So Mars's placement is very sensitive. So in the D8 chart, Mars tells about the surgeries, blood, accidents. Strong Mars can actually give you or give someone a fighter spirit. Mercury, friends, will talk about the mental resilience. Weak Mercury in the D8 will talk about the anxiety disorder, overthinking. Jupiter, friends, will talk about the protection, grace, healing, and strong Jupiter saves life in crisis. And again, friends, I'll be very honest with you. You might have your business as everything, that vehicle, that money in your bank account is everything, but eventually, ultimately, it's your jeev, it's your pran, it's your life which is of utmost importance. Everything else in the life is perishable, is not permanent, right? So I mean to say Jupiter is jeev karak. So your life it can save. But when we talk about if for you everything is money, everything is wealth, so I'm not sure that Jupiter will protect that or not. But yes, your life it can save. The divine grace can help you that you will not end up taking those decisions where the living signification will suffer. Jupiter at least will protect you over there. Venus, friends, so comfort during suffering. Weak Venus will talk about the loss of joy or relational pain. Saturn, friends, will talk about the chronic suffering, endurance. Strong Saturn will tell about the unbreakable survivor. It can actually make someone unbreakable survivor. See, Saturn, if it is strengthened in the D8 chart, that can be seen as a blessing, because suffering is not there to harm you. Suffering is there to teach you, to make you a better, stronger person. Friends, Rahu, we know that. See, there's a high possibility that you will have Rahu and Ketu in the same house in the D8 chart. Now, the way you have to interpret it, for example, you open up the D8 chart, right? But important is that which dasha you are currently running. So, the signification which I will say over here regarding Rahu, then it will be more applicable if Rahu dasha is active. Because again, Rahu, Ketu are going to be in the same house in the D8 chart. But I will tell you result of both of them, but whose dasha you are running from the main ascendant, your Vimshotri dasha calculation. So that energy will be more paramount in that house. So that means Rahu represents sudden shocks, fear, foreign medical issue, can give, if positive, can give miraculous escapes. Like I forgot that movie I saw. It was, in one scene, the person fired so many shots and nothing happened in front, like the bullet just missed, and see, I don't know the name of the movie, so I cannot just say the name here. I might put the screenshot of the poster of that movie so that you can relate that scene. So when we talk about the Ketu, friends, so Ketu is difficult in the D8 chart because Ketu represents surgery, cutting away of the limbs, detachment, and like the yeah, it can actually make you spiritual, but yes, the surgery potential and all, cutting away the limbs potential, Ketu holds in the D8 chart. Now friends, the most important is the combination D1 and the D8 link. So never read D8 alone. The rule is very simple. If a planet is weak in D1 and further afflicted in D8, crisis manifest in the dasha of that planet. For example, Mars weak in D1, Mars afflicted in D8, so risk of accident or surgery. Moon is weak in D1, Moon is weak in D8, emotional collapse. Jupiter strong in D8, protection even if D1 is difficult. Friends, so I'm sure many people open up the D8 chart, especially for the surgery and accidents. So surgery indicators strengthen when Mars and Ketu, they both are active. 8th house is heavily activated, like you have like Mars, Saturn, Ketu in the 8th house. One of that planet is active in the Disha or in the combination Mars Saturn in the 8th house, and in the Saturn Mahadasha Mars Antar. I endured that, and I was going for the blood donation back to back. So yes, Dasha which involves D8 afflicted planet, I mentioned that. Transit can also trigger the same planet. So D8 chart will tell whether surgery heals or complicates, speed of recovery, and psychological impact of surgery. And friends, a couple of things. If we are looking at D8 and you have to study it from the lens of observing the longevity, so never predict death bluntly. D8 helps to assess stress on lifespan, not the lifespan in itself, whether crises are survivable. So strong indicators of survival: Jupiter in Kendra or Trikonas in D8, strong Lagna Lord in D8, like ascendant Lord of the D8 is strengthened over there. Benefic aspect on the 8th house in the D8. And friends, D8 and the past life karma. So the Nadi view, because Nadi basically generally talks about the past, right? So D8 suffering often comes from misuse of power in the past life, violence, fear-based actions, or abandonment of duty as well. So, but we say that souls with heavy D8 often becomes like healer, guide, warrior, or the mystic. See friends, I could have put that into discussion as well, like like soul level possession, exorcism, dark tantric activities, involvement, engagement. But I just wanted to keep it very rational, because not most of us are aligned with that. Most of us just want to protect ourselves from the real life visible threat, which is accident, which is going bankrupt or losing someone like in life. So I mean to say that is the only reason I designed this whole discussion very rational, very logical. But let's say, for example, if you are more inclined towards knowing about the possession, tantra and all, so you can write it in the comment section. I can make a second part on this as well in the D8, and like then we can have our discussion only from that perspective, like the tantra, possession and all. Now friends, talking about the remedies from the D8. So remedies must be stability oriented, not desire oriented. That means effective remedies are Saturn discipline like routine, seva, Mars discipline, controlled strength like yoga, Jupiter sadhana, faith, surrender, and acceptance of suffering as purifier, like not blaming everyone, or this could be the God Almighty, accepting your suffering that it is there to purify you. And just avoid aggressive gemstone use or fear-based ritual or the obsession with the prediction. So friends, the final outcome of this discussion is D8 does not show how you fall, it shows how you rise. Strong D8 means indestructible soul. Weak D8 means soul needs grounding. and activated D8 means life forges character. So the Upanishadic truth for this is the self is not destroyed by weapons. And friends, like, I just want to say at the end that if your life has broken you and rebuilt you, in a way your D8 is strong. If your life has witnessed many life transformation, that means your D8 is strong. So this single line reframes you from fear and instill that power into you. So yes friends, this was just a basic overview. I will see that based on your participation and all, do I need to make another video on this and go further deep into it via taking into consideration and involving certain case studies as well. So I will look forward to your response. So okay friends, this is something which I wanted to say as a part of my inputs. More than that, I remind you to subscribe this channel, like this video or book your consultation. I always remind you to leave a comment because it's a research platform. We all can learn from each other. I'm sure that if this video has pulled you towards this video, I mean to say, I hope you would have understood. So you might have some 8th house connection right now in your life. You might have 8th house right now active in your life. So whatever I have explained over here, and after that you have opened up your D8 chart and whatever you have found over there, how closely you can resonate with it. Like for example, when your 8th house dasha got activated, were you gotten into accident? Does your D8 chart validates it? Or when your 8th house got activated, you gotten into astrology, you move your country, you change your profession, but it has to get indicated in the D8 chart. So whatever you can find out friends, do share it in the comment section so that we can learn from each other. So okay friends, for further more updates and notification on the divine science of Vedic astrology, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on my Instagram account. Dhanyavad.